So here we are with another version of the room with the view. I already did the Dutch version, but this one is going to be in English, and I'm going to make a slightly different one from the other one that you may have seen in my videos. Actually, that was the first one I posted on my channel. So let's do this a little bit different, but basically it's the same principle. So what we need to do first of all is sketch the outline of the window frame. Now I had something in mind like doing maybe something like an old castle or something, like you're in an old castle. So start with the simple rectangle. That's always a good thing. Maybe I'm going to do a rounded arch. Yeah, rounded arch on the top of the window. And instead of a wooden frame, we can also maybe use these big bricks or natural stone or what have you, and a rather thick wall. Okay, so we have the outline of the window. Now we, as I said, this wall has a thickness, so how do we draw that? First of all, we need to establish where your eye level is compared to the height of the window itself. Now let's suppose that's about over here, like in the other drawing, about a third of the total height, and that you're sitting a little bit to the left of the window. So that means that your vanishing point, that is the point on the horizon that is right opposite you as a viewer. Let's suppose that you're sitting a little bit to the left of the window, so that means that the vanishing point also will move a little bit to the left on the horizon. Now, so what we can do now is draw some lines from the corners of the window in the direction of that window, or in the direction of vanishing point, sorry. And well, maybe we are going to do establish the thickness of the wall, something like this, a rather thick wall for a medieval castle. And okay, and now we meet the arch, and how are we going to deal with that? Well, okay, then maybe we can build up the wall from big bricks or so. So let's suppose we do a few bricks here. We're looking at the sides of it. Yeah, there's mortar in between them. So in here you see the start of the arch, which means that we will have stones that are specially shaped to form the arch. Now on the other side we will have the same over there. So if you sort of transfer that line to the other side, we can simply copy that, more or less, mirrored. And these specially shaped stones were called fousoirs. Fousoir, it's a French word. Fousoir. Fousssoir. And then at the top, yes, this is a cliffhanger. Then at the top, drum roll, there is, oh dear, I've got too little space. There is what we call the keystone. Should be a bit higher. We'll deal with that later, don't worry. So that's called the keystone, which will lock up all these stones which form the arch. Now maybe we should change the size of them a little bit, like that. Copy that to the other side as well, and then we'll deal with the inside of the wall where where this window is in. So there we go. We can maybe add some more stones later on. That will be for later. Now, okay, as you can see, these stones have a thickness. So let's find out where that is. And maybe this is a really, really thick one. A really big, thick square one. But as you see, all these lines are in reality parallel to each other. So we need to draw these to the vanishing point. Imagine a railroad that you're standing on the rails. These rails will always be parallel, But if you look down the railroad, you will see that these lines that form the rails sort of meet each other in the distance. Now, it's not that this train will sort of screechingly come to a halt because it has suddenly narrowed too much. No, it's just a visual effect where you see that parallel lines sort of meet each other in the distance like that. So now once we have this, we can sort of copy the direction of these lines on the other side, and then you will see that we can form the arch and the inside of the wall. So you're at the inside of the opening for the window. Now there's these mortar grooves in between, so maybe we can recess these a little bit so that you can see these stones a bit more distinctly. I think that would be fine. Yeah, there you go. It's like that. Now, as you can see, this is all rather sketchy and rough, and that's okay. You have to sort of search for the right placement of the lines, and we can make this a bit more precisely later on, and I'll show you exactly how we're going to do that, but be patient, don't worry. So there you have it. Now let's finish this front of the wall. That's on the inside of the wall where you're standing and looking at the landscape in the distance, and in the distance you see maybe armies gathering for a siege or something like that. Winter is coming. Right, okay. Now, here we can make a landscape, of course, with these funny things, and these are all helping lines which I will erase later. As I said, this is rather rough, and I'm missing a part of the top stone over there. Now, I happen to have a light box here, a light box or a light table that is a sort of transparent piece of white plastic with some LEDs behind it. So if you switch that on, then ta-da, it's suddenly lit, and that will give you the opportunity to take another sheet of paper and then copy this, ta-da, onto that sheet of paper. Now I can choose whether I want to move that paper a bit up so to create, in order to create a bit more room over there for that keystone on top, or maybe I can switch from a landscape format to a portrait format, which would give me even more space, and which would also would correspond a bit more to the size of that window. See if I'm still in the picture. Yes, I am. Okay, so what you can do now is leave out all the helping lines and lines that you do not particularly need, and as you can see, I'm just starting randomly somewhere. Leave out all the lines that you do not need, and sort of tidy up your drawing. Right, and I can even finish this top stone, this keystone, on the top of the arch. Maybe I could make some sort of ornament over there later on, I don't know. I'll see about that. It's an adventure. Right, okay, so I'll speed this up a little bit. Okay, so the horizon with the landscape, and well, maybe there was this moat around the small cabin over there. or a wooden shed. Yeah, something like that. Okay, now if I switch off the light, you'll see what we have now. And well, maybe it needs some more attention, because how can I show that this is a wall? Okay, which means how do I show the inside of that thing? And I'm going to create this like sort of big stones. Well, this has to do with light and shadow. Light is coming from there, okay, so that will lighten up the inside of this opening, and the part that's turned towards you will be darker. So if I start doing that, okay, bear with me, I'm going to speed it up, but with hatching, that means putting all these lines closely together, you can create a tone, which means that you darken it. Okay, and if I only darken the part that's turned towards me, you will find out that suddenly the light starts pouring in. But okay, so suppose the light's coming a bit from top left, from that direction. Where would the shadows be? Well, that would mean that we would have a darker side here. And this will be even darker. Top sides, the top insides of these things will be darker as well. And every surface that is turned away from you or turned away from the light will be darker. See how this works? Now, okay. Let's add a bit of color, like in the sky. And the sky doesn't necessarily have to be blue. Sometimes you have a gray sky or an orange, yellowish, almost red sky. That will do too. But what I'm after is this effect, that you get a sort of gradual transition from bright blue at the top towards almost white near the horizon, sort of grayish. And this effect will create depth in your drawing, and it even has a name. It's called atmospheric perspective. Was already discovered in the Middle Ages or the Renaissance later on, where painters started using that in Italy to create the illusion of depth in the drawing. See, which also goes for the landscape. So if this was to be sort of green pasture like landscape, then in the distance you will have less brightly colors like this, and you could even remove the line for the horizon. This was to be a sort of fortification, maybe even. And there's this little shed over here, standing on the inside of the fortification. Very common in those days, I suppose. Like a sort of village almost within the fortifications of the castle. And there will be shadow on that side, of course, but okay, this is not the main subject of the this instruction. This is basically only about the process of making a window looking like you're looking from the inside out. Now I'm making the top a bit darker as well, because the light is coming from the top and top left, and which will probably make this a bit darker as well. Now there's this shadow over here. You can do the hatching in the direction of the surface that you want to imply. Alright, okay. And you can do a lot with texture to make it look like stone. You can do some sort of squiggles or dots or whatever to make the surface look a bit more rough, like natural stone, which is normally also not completely grey or black. Maybe it even has some brownish tints or some greenish mossy things. If you simply do that over the grey tone that you created with your pencil, then you will naturally and automatically create also the shadowy colors that you need over here. See? As you can see, the yellow pencil takes with it a little bit of the graphite, the pencil, and that only helps to create natural, sort of natural looking color tone for the stones, I suppose. Maybe add some green like moss or something to it in some places like that. Well, you can simply use your imagination. As you can see, this sort of works out nicely. I can do that shadow there. It's middle ages, so it's all a bit brownish and drab in color. That's usually the thing you have in mind when you think about those periods in time. Well, some people dressed up in very nice and bright colored clothes, like the noblemen. Those were the only ones who were allowed to wear clothing with colors. The other people were confined to brown and black. So what you wore was something like a social tag, almost like, okay, I'm not a nobleman, I'm a craftsman, so I wear brown or black. Well, there you go. Maybe you like this. Maybe not.